You were never just loved, you were studied. Every mood swing she had, every silence she gave you, you learned to decode it like your survival depended on it. Because it did. That wasn't a childhood. That was a battlefield. And you were trained not in joy, but in fear. And here's the forbidden truth. Most people will never escape their mother's shadow. They will die seeking her approval. They will marry versions of her. They will raise children while still haunted by her voice in their heads. But you are not most people. You're here because you're done pretending. You're done smiling at family dinners while bleeding on the inside. You want truth. You want freedom. You want to cut the cord no one ever taught you how to sever, and you will. But first, you have to understand the wound. The one Jung tried to describe. The one that shapes your fate until you face it. Let's start with the first step. The darkest step. The smile that trapped you. Your mother didn't have to raise her hand. Her words did the damage. Her eyes, cold, scanning, quietly disappointed. Maybe she was kind to the world and cruel behind doors. Maybe she fed you, dressed you, drove you to school, but withheld the one thing your soul needed, safe love, and so you adapted. You became good, the perfect child. Not because you were innocent, but because you were terrified. You kept her happy so you wouldn't be abandoned. You see what that does to a child. You become a psychic hostage. You lose your sense of self and replace it with a performance. Your real emotions go underground, buried, exiled, and now, as an adult, you wonder, why do I struggle to say no? Why do I sabotage love? Why do I chase emotionally distant people? Because the first woman you loved taught you love was something you had to earn, not something you were born worthy of. And here's the twisted irony. Even if she never hit you, even if she said, "I love you" every night, if her love came with strings, you were being programmed, tamed, conditioned to doubt your reality and serve hers, and the moment you tried to rebel, the guilt came crashing down. You hear her voice every time you think of setting boundaries. You feel her eyes on your back every time you dare to feel happy without her approval. But here's where you begin to take power back. The mirror must break. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is what he meant. The version of you that was built to survive her is still running your life, and it will never create peace, because it was not built for peace. It was built for survival. So what do? We go back. Not to blame, but to see. To bring light to the unseen contracts you signed before you could even speak. You promised to be small so she could feel big. You promised to stay quiet so she could feel in control. You promised to be her emotional caretaker, her golden child, her extension, but that wasn't a promise. It was a prison sentence. And now, every time you try to grow beyond her image of you, you feel like you're betraying her. This is the sickest part of maternal wounding. The guilt for choosing your own life. It feels like murder, but it's not murder. It's rebirth. And you have to be willing to let the old identity die. The good child that never got angry, the loyal daughter who never left, the silent son who kept the pain hidden. You're not a child anymore, and yet, your inner world still obeys a mother who stopped raising you years ago. This is where things start to shift, violently. Because now, you see her not as your mother, but as a wounded woman who passed her pain into you like a cursed heirloom. She didn't know how to love herself, so how could she ever teach you to? She was never held, so she held you with thorns. That's not an excuse. That's the origin of the wound. But make no mistake, just because you weren't to blame doesn't mean you're not responsible now. Because the second you see the wound, it becomes yours to clean, and no more waiting for her to change, and no more hoping for an apology that will never come. You don't need her to say sorry. You need you to say, "I see what happened, and I will not carry this another day." But here's the part no one dares to say out loud. This healing? It will destroy you before it frees you. You will mourn the mother you wished you had. You will grieve the childhood that never was. You will feel like your entire identity is shattering, and it is. but only so you can rebuild it. On truth this time, that no more pretending, no more minimizing, no more. She did her best to silence your pain. Your pain is real. Your voice is valid, and your freedom, it starts with rage.it, starts with tears.it, starts with finally saying what you were never allowed to say. You hurt me, and I still survived. Dark visual of mirror cracking, then silence, a breath. But that's only the beginning, because once you break the illusion, once you see the prison for what it is, now comes the most dangerous part, reclaiming yourself. And trust me, they're not going to like who you become next. Shall we begin? You don't forget the mother wound. You carry it in how you breathe, how you flinch when someone raises their voice. You carry it in how you chase approval like oxygen, from lovers, bosses, even strangers, because once upon a time, your very survival depended on pleasing someone who couldn't love you right. You learned to smile while you bled. You learned to shrink so someone else could feel powerful. And worst of all, you thought that was love. But what if I told you what you called love was actually submission? Not connection, but compliance. You adapted to survive. But now that adaptation is killing your future, let's go deeper. Let's rip this mask off together. There's something Carl Jung said that most people are too afraid to understand. The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent. Let that sink in. Your mother's sorrow became your script. Her limitations became your ceiling. She couldn't break free, so she clipped your wings, and now you've been living with her shame stitched into your DNA like a parasite. But here's the forbidden truth. You were never meant to carry that burden, her loneliness, her resentment, her regret. None of that was yours. You inherited her silence, her fears, her emotional starvation, and somehow believed it was your job to fix her. You thought if you were perfect, she'd smile. If you succeeded, she'd finally see you. But the bar kept moving, didn't it? Because you were trying to fill a bottomless well. You became the emotional parent to your own mother, and now you overfunction in every room your in.at work, in relationships, even in friendships. You give, you manage, you rescue, but who rescues you? Let's make this visual. Imagine a little girl, maybe 5 years old. She's sitting on a cold kitchen floor. Tears streak her cheeks. She's holding her favorite drawing, hoping her mother will finally say, "I'm proud of you." But her mother is too tired, too angry, too locked in her own pain to even look. So the little girl swallows her disappointment and tells herself, "Next time, I just have to be better next time." That girl never really leaves, she just grows up. She wears lipstick now, and she goes to meetings, and she posts selfies, but inside, she's still holding that damn drawing, still waiting for love that never comes. That's the wound. But let's talk about the weapon it becomes. Here's what they don't teach you in healing books. The mother wound doesn't just make you soft. It makes you dangerous to yourself. Because the pain doesn't stay in your heart. It metastasizes into behaviors that sabotage your success. You date people who echo her neglect. You chase after emotional crumbs. You overachieve, not out of purpose, but to prove you deserve to exist. You shrink when you're supposed to roar. You explode when you're finally seen, then run from the intimacy you claim to crave. You're not crazy, you're coded. But here's the power move. You can rewrite the code. You can stop being a slave to her shadow. But it's going to cost you something. You'll have to betray everything she taught you about love, obedience, and identity. Are you ready for that kind of war? Because let me tell you something no one dares to say out loud. Healing the mother wound is not about forgiving her first. It's about choosing yourself for the very first time. You have to become the mother you never had. You have to learn to reparent your inner warrior. And that means holding yourself through every scream, every breakdown, every old story that tries to drag you back into the abyss. Because the wound is sticky and it'll whisper, "Stay small, be sweet, don't make her look bad." But survival isn't sweet. Survival is savage. And you're done surviving. You're ready to reclaim. Let me show you what that looks like in real life. There was a woman I worked with. Let's call her Yvette on the outside. She had it all. the money, the accolades, the perfect Instagram feed. But inside, she was hollow, because every time she succeeded, she felt guilty, like she was betraying the mother who always told her, "Don't get too big. People won't like you." So Eva dimmed her light. She hired people who undermined her. She sabotaged relationships where she could have been loved, all to remain loyal to a ghost, until one day, she snapped. After yet another breakup, another panic attack, another night staring at the ceiling whispering, "What's wrong with me?" She heard something deep inside say, "The problem isn't you. The problem is the prison you were born into." That's the day she began to disobey. She fired the voice in her head that told her she was too much. She started saying no like it was sacred. She cried for weeks. She slept for days, and slowly, she became sovereign. Her mother never changed, but Eva did. She stopped waiting for permission. She became her own damn validation. That's what healing looks like. It's not always pretty, it's not always peaceful, but it's real. And real is where your power lies, so let me ask you, are you ready to disobey? 2. Cut the invisible cords that have been strangling your self-worth for years. To reject the guilt that was never yours to begin with. To finally say, "This ends with me." Because if you are, then you're not healing anymore. You're rising. And once you rise, truly rise, there's no going back. The world won't know what to do with you, because you're not here to be liked. You're here to be free. And that's when the real transformation begins. Let's get one thing straight. You don't need your mother to heal. You need you. The version of you that wasn't allowed to exist. The wild one, the angry one, the grieving one, the one who stopped waiting to be rescued and finally said, "If no one's coming to love me like I deserve, then I will." That's not ego, that's rebirth. Carl Jung believed that every psychological wound carries with it the seed of transformation. He called it individuation. The process of becoming whole, and to become whole, you must meet the parts of yourself your mother never allowed to live. So, let's walk into that fire together. Step 1. Grieve what never was. Most people skip this. They jump straight to "I forgive her" or "She did her best." But you can't heal what you refuse to feel. And the truth, you lost something. You lost the right to be a child. You lost safety. You lost the experience of being held without having to earn it. So cry. Mourn. Scream if you have to. Because grief isn't weakness. Grief is your soul saying, "I deserved better." And until you let that pain surface, it will run your life from the shadows. Step 2. Create the mother you needed. No, not outside of you. Inside. This is where the work becomes sacred. Close your eyes. Imagine a mother who sees you. All of you. The rage, the sensitivity, the fire, the mess. And she doesn't flinch. She doesn't correct you. She holds you. She says, "You're not too much. You're just enough. You don't have to earn love. You are love." Now imagine that voice being yours. You become her. You say it to yourself, not once, but every single day, until your nervous system believes it. Because healing is repetition. You're not just fixing a broken leg, you're rewiring a broken identity. Step 3. Reclaim your boundaries. Let's be real. If your mother disrespected your feelings, you probably learned to tolerate disrespect from everyone. Friends who use you. Partners who ignore your needs. Family who guilt trips you. That ends now. Boundaries are not punishments. They are protection. They say, "This is how I love myself now." You don't have to agree, but you do have to respect it. And yes, it will feel unnatural. Because if you were raised to serve, choosing yourself will feel like betrayal. But here's your breakthrough. You are not betraying your mother by healing. You are betraying the lie that said you had to stay broken to be loved. Step 4. Disobey the family script. This is the part that terrifies people, because once you begin healing, you start seeing the dysfunction everywhere. Maybe your mother was also abused. Maybe her mother was too. Maybe this wound goes back generations, but trauma only becomes destiny when no one is brave enough to stop it. And now, You are that brave one. You are the one who says, the violence ends here. The silence ends here. The self-betrayal ends here. You'll feel alone at first. They may call you dramatic. They may say you're the problem, but don't flinch, because every family has a cycle breaker, and in yours, it's you. Step 5. Reclaim your inner child. She's still in there. The little girl who just wanted to be held, who wanted to sing without shame, who wanted to play without fear. Don't abandon her. Don't parent her the way your mother did. Don't silence her when she cries. Instead, tell her, you are safe now that I've got you. You never have to be perfect again. You get to be by her flowers, paint with her, dance in your room like you're 5 again. Let her guide you back to joy, because joy is rebellion, and healing is a revolution. Let me be blunt. This isn't easy. This is war against everything you were taught. You will feel guilty. You will feel selfish. You will feel like you're abandoning your mother, but what you're actually abandoning is the cage she built around you. And once you start choosing freedom over guilt, you begin to breathe in a way you never thought possible. You begin to laugh without fear. You begin to trust people who actually see you. You begin to love without apologizing for it. You stop performing, you start existing. And that's the miracle. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. But now you know the truth. It wasn't fate. It was programming. And now you're reprogramming everything. You're not fixing your mother, you're becoming the mother your soul always needed. And through that, you're not just healing yourself. You're healing generations. You're the ending and the beginning, the rupture and the repair, the scar and the story that says, I made it out. You made it, but the world will pretend you didn't, because the world doesn't reward the daughter who escapes the mother wound. It fears her. She cannot be controlled. She cannot be manipulated. She doesn't play nice for scraps of affection anymore. She becomes sovereign, and once you taste that sovereignty, you can never go back. Not to the guilt, not to the begging, not to the ache of please see me, please love me. Because now, you see yourself and you love yourself without permission. Let me give you the forbidden truth. The daughter who heals becomes dangerous, not to the world, but to the illusions that ruled her. She no longer lets others write her story. She rewrites the entire script. Where there was silence, now there's voice. Where there was shame, now there's power. Where there was trauma, now there's transcendence. This is your rebirth. But it's not soft. It's ferocious. And it starts the moment you say, I don't need to be understood. I need to be free. Here's what that freedom looks like. You walk into a room and you no longer shrink. You no longer scan for disapproval. You don't contort yourself to avoid conflict. You don't people please like it's a survival strategy. You look around and realize, you survived. Now you choose. That's what they never told you. That healing wasn't about becoming better for anyone. It was about becoming unapologetically you. Not the daughter they sculpted, the woman you buried, the warrior you locked away. And when she rises, everything changes. Suddenly, your no means no. Your yes means yes, and your tears, they aren't weakness anymore. They are truth. You don't chase love. You become it. You don't seek validation. You radiate self-respect. Because once the maternal spell is broken, you're no longer a servant to your lineage, you're its liberator. Carl Jung taught that the soul will keep repeating pain until it becomes conscious. You've made it conscious. And now the cycle ends with you. But don't expect applause. The ones still trapped will resent your freedom. They'll call you cold, difficult, ungrateful. Who do you think you are? You look them in the eye and you say, I am the one who broke the curse. I am the daughter who remembered her worth. They won't like it, but it's not for them. It's for you. And for every child you'll never traumatize because of the work you did in silence. You know what's even more powerful than forgiveness? Indifference. When you stop needing closure. When you stop performing healing for their comfort. When you stop trying to convince the villain to admit they were wrong. You don't need her to say sorry. You don't need her to change. Because you're no longer bound by her, you're rising beyond her. That is the moment. Your chains shatter. You used to be the daughter who internalized everything. Her coldness must be your fault. Her mood swings? You must have done something wrong. Her cruelty? Maybe you just weren't good enough. But now you see it was never about you. You were a child. She was a storm. You were just trying to survive the thunder. Now you don't survive it. You walk through it, untouched. You become the eye of the storm, calm, steady, unshakable. Let's talk about what no one tells you. The healed daughter becomes magnetic, not because she's perfect, but because she's real. She doesn't sugarcoat her past. She doesn't pretend everything's fine. She owns her pain like a throne. She owns her scars like armor. People feel it. They feel the weight you've carried. They feel the power in your boundaries. They feel the peace that only comes from walking through hell and making it out whole. You become a lighthouse for others who are still lost at sea. And some will hate you for that. But many will find hope. You weren't meant to watch this video by accident. This was a message meant for the part of you that's been silently screaming, when will it stop? When will the pain finally end? Here's your answer. It ends now. Not when she changes. Not when she apologizes. Not when she finally loves you the way she should have. It ends when you stop needing any of it. It ends when you decide that healing is yours to own. And you own it with fire, with tears, with boundaries sharp enough to cut through guilt, with softness that no longer feels like surrender. You end the story that began in suffering. And you write a new one. In sovereignty. So here's what I want you to do. Take one breath, deep, and say it with me. I am not her reflection. I am not her shame. I am not her unlived life. I am mine. Let it echo. Write it. Whisper it. Tattoo it on your soul if you have to. Because this isn't just about healing a wound. It's about taking your rightful place as the author of your own life. You're not a daughter waiting at the door anymore. You're a woman standing at the gate. And you decide who gets in now. You've walked through the darkest inheritance. You've burned the old scripts. And now, you rise from the ashes, not fixed, not forgiven, but freed. Welcome home. If this broke you open, if you felt seen in these words, then speak. Comment below. Tell your story. Claim your rebirth. And don't forget, subscribe, like, and share this with someone whose inner child still needs to hear it. Because the world is full of broken daughters, and it's time they become queens. This was Philopulse, the place where your shadows become your strength. And remember, you weren't born to obey, you were born to rise. Until next time, stay sovereign.